Hey guys, it's Christian from the Gospel According to Culture. This week we are going to talk about how to read your Bible. It's a question that so many people have. We're just going to break it down in 7 simple questions that you need to ask yourself every time you read your Bible. And the easy part is you ask yourself these questions when you listen to music, when you watch movies and that kind of thing. And so we're going to talk about this in the context of J. Cole's No Role Models. I love J. Cole. He is an incredible rapper, one of my favorite rappers, and No Role Models is a classic song. And he opens up the lines that I'm sure many of us know. He says, "First things first, rest in peace, Uncle Phil. For real, you the only father that I ever knew. If I got my girl pregnant, I'm going to be a better you." And so first thing we're going to ask ourselves when we hear this is we're going to say, who is the author? Who's J. Cole? And, we don't need to know his entire life story, but we can say that J. Cole is a rapper of the current time period, but he also has an appreciation for the 90s because, he grew up in the 90s. He would understand that culture and he would understand those references, but he would also expect his audience to understand that. So when we ask ourselves the second question of who his audience is, he expects his audience to understand that same culture. So similarly, when we read the Bible, we need to know the culture that they grew up in and then what they expect their audience to know. Third question we're going to ask ourselves is, who are the people in the text? Here we have Uncle Phil, we have J. Cole, and we have J. Cole's significant other. And so when we read the Bible, we're going to ask ourselves, who are the people here? Is it Jesus, the disciples? Is it, a prophet? Who are the people in the text? The next question is just a general observation. What's happening? And so you don't need to know everything that's going on. You don't need to know the deep, crazy things that are going on, but you just need to know the general observation, what happened here. Here we have J. Cole expressing admiration for Uncle Phil as a father figure he did not have growing up. And then the fifth question we have here is the question of what does this line reveal to us about the people within the text? And so if we look at J. Cole, his line here, it reveals that he didn't have a father growing up. He also doesn't have kids, but he values fatherhood enough to say that if he does have kids, he wants to be the father he never had. We understand also that he values Uncle Phil, and Uncle Phil is a good father. And J. Cole wants to be a father just like Uncle Phil was to Carlton and a father figure to Will on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And then the last 2 questions that we have for you are really more specific to the Bible. First, we need to know, what does the text say about God? So similar to the last question where we sit down and we say, okay, what does this text really learn about the characters within it? We're also going to look at it and say, what do we learn about the character of God? And so the Bible is not about you, it is about God. And so when we read our Bibles, we need to view it like Pastor I love John Onwuchekwa down in Atlanta. He says the Bible is a window. We look through it to see God, not a mirror that we look at to see ourselves. And so that's really true. When we read the Bible, you want to look through it and see, okay, what does it say about the character of God? But also we want to look at it and say, okay, now that I know the character of God, what should that lead me to do? So our Bible should always lead us to an application. That's the last question. How does this apply to my life? Though it's not a mirror, sometimes you'll look through a window and get a brief reflection of yourself. You want to say, okay, what does the character of God mean for me? And so those are our 7 questions right there. We say, who is the author? Who is the audience? Who are the people in the text? What's happening? What does this mean about the people in the text? What does this mean about the character of God? And lastly, what does this mean about me? So we're going to put these 7 questions to the test. We're going to read the Gospel of Luke together, starting in Luke chapter 1 next week. We're going to go through 1 chapter at a time. And so join me as we continue the journey through studying the Gospel according to culture.